Hi. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. My name is Lady. I am back today with some very, very important updates. Very, 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 very important. Share as much as possible. Today I come to you with the heart of Museveni and his plans. We have a very, very serious matter at hand. Something that he has already passed directives on. Something that he has already signed off to take place. Again, today is March 25th, 2026. My name is Lady Winnie. I come to you as a Ugandan, a friend of Uganda, a child of Uganda, somebody who has given or is giving her contribution to a country that feels dear to my heart. I have a very, very important update that cannot wait. Some sort of breaking and also urgent news or plans of Museveni. As I bring this to you, I hope this will strengthen you in the faith that change is coming and that it will take us as Ugandan people to take the leap forward to achieve a changed Uganda or a new Uganda. Okay, so I will start off with the updates. Be strong. It's going to be hard to listen to, hard to hear. Hello Waiswa, hello Maria. It's hard to swallow, but we need to know so we can equip ourselves on how to move forward, how to stay safe, and how to proceed. Remember that these are Museveni's plans. It does not mean that they will happen, especially when we speak about them. It only means that we know the heart of the devil so that we know what to do or act antagonistically, the other way. So I have a few of his plans here, but one that is very, very extremely serious. So I'd like you to pay attention, please. Share it as much as possible. If there's a video that you've shared before, I hope this one will be it, because it has very, very serious, if he takes the steps to move these plans that he has, it'll be detrimental to the people of Uganda. But usually when this gets out, he doesn't really act on it. So I'm hoping that that's what will happen. But I have a few security alerts which are major. I will elaborate them as I get to them. And then if you have comments, please share in my comment section and I'll look at them when I can and then respond back to you. But this that I'm bringing you today is from Museveni's heart. There are people who give me security alerts from Museveni's people that take time to take place. But this, from the sources that I got this, it means that this he has signed off on and could happen at any time. Okay? So before I get to the major one, here are a few briefs. As you know, Museveni has, with His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu being outside of the country, he has dished out a lot of money, about 5 billion or 15 billion to the ESO, which is the security organization, external security organization, with a head of director called Joseph Ochwet, who is a Langi gentleman. He's one of the people or one of the executives or the elites that used to be during the Obote times. Those were the people who left Uganda to go on and further education or perform diplomatic services for the Obote regime. So usually when a new government comes into place, they negotiate with a few of the previous government people and maintain them or retain them or absorb them in the new government, which is what this ISO director, Joseph Ochwet, he lives in London. That's who this person is. So he is the director of ISO, and the newest directive from Museveni is the diaspora cleansing, which means we who are in the diaspora need to be extra careful, because there's been so much put in for Museveni to try to eliminate us. Meanwhile, there's news that I forwarded on my page whereby one of Kagame's militia or people from his military government that went out to Washington, D.C. on a mission to try to, I would say, kill the First Lady of Congo, Mrs. Tshisekedi. He was apprehended, obviously. You know, they can commit foolery elsewhere, but not with heightened security on matters of Rwanda like they are right now. So anyways, the gentleman has been apprehended. All of his details have been discovered, recovered, shared, and so he's on watch. You know, it's not like Kagame is already not in hot soup. But Kagame and Museveni believe the iron hand or the iron fist is the only way to deal with matters like this. So I think what they're trying to do is to bring Tshisekedi to his knees by eliminating his wife, or to try to destabilize the peace deal and have, you know, Tshisekedi look to them again for security or whatever they call security, so that they're brought back into Congo. But unfortunately at the same time, it is happening on the ground, on United States soil, where they did sign the peace deal that failed. So that is more issues for Kagame, that he does things like this, because many times we've said, people have talked about, you know, how Kagame eliminates his enemies far and wide from wherever they are. He tries to send people or send people to get him poisoned or whatever. It has happened over time. But this will be proof, something that will stick, something that is in the hands of the U.S. investigation. And remember, in this country, which I live in the United States, by the time you're apprehended, trust me, they have miles. They have tons of records on you. So hopefully there is more than just this one incident on this man. Obviously, Kagame sends his best to try to perform something like this, like it would be generally. Hopefully it's not a one-off, and they will find more information on that type of assassination. This gentleman, Joseph Ochwet, I'm going to post him online so that we all know who he is. And for people who deal in circles around him and are change seekers for Uganda, or people who wish for change in Uganda, be extremely careful, because he has been ordered to perform a diaspora cleansing, which means that people like us who speak up have to be extremely careful now. Try not to engage in those circles. But when you spot and see the likes of people, I think ASP Asima Wille posted on his Bible and Politics page, a gentleman who has been also sent out on a mission like that. So be watchful, share those people so that we all know and know how to take heed. Okay. Fuel crisis. I talked about this yesterday. As I mentioned in the beginning, when the Iran war started, Museveni talked to Ruto and asked him if they could all together in one phase increase oil prices. You know, Ruto, Rwanda, Tanzania. But Ruto said, you know, I have enough oil. Like, I thought it should be common sense that countries like East African region, where there's oil itself, and they don't imagine how many people in your neighborhood have a car. How many? Not many. The few people who drive vehicles around Uganda are not as many as compared to most countries that can complain about a fuel crisis. Okay. But not even just that. Museveni's government now lacks the funds to run a government. And so they're finding ways to try to increase oil prices or gas prices so that they can collect and have funding. Remember, the wars like the UNISOM in Somalia are no longer existent. Those wars fed Museveni a lot of money. As you know, those funds, as they came in to pay the soldiers, the Musevenis took most of the funds, paid them very little, and also created a fund, which is called the Wazalendo. That same Wazalendo was where the soldiers were supposed to borrow from, borrow more on high interest. Eventually, they ended up with just a few pennies as the soldiers who were going out to work with Museveni on the UNISOM project. So there's nothing Museveni does to benefit Ugandans. And I wish we would understand that and just keep our eyes open for anything that he tries to bring or anything that he tries to introduce. Nothing is good for Ugandans. But it gets worse. Listen to this. Remember the phone call? I posted on my page something that said Museveni received a phone call and he passed out, and many people laughed about it. Some people called me stupid. I actually started blocking some people because of my peace of mind. You don't have to listen to what I say, but I hope you do because it helps. As a Ugandan, it will help you. But if you see that it's absolutely nonsense, you know, you can just block me or you can just unfriend me. Easy. A few people sent me really disturbing messages about what I said. But let me tell you what the call was about. So since Bobi Wine left the country, there's been a lot of stir-ups everywhere, just like there were before. The phone call that Museveni got that got him to fall, the minute he got the phone call, they told him in the phone call to make sure to remove military personnel or armed forces from His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu's home. It was an order. It was something he cannot refuse. It was something he least expected. It was something that he did not want to do. And so he felt belittled. He felt like he had no way out. In that instant that he received the phone call and the order, his phone fell off his ear and Museveni fell off the chair that he was sitting on. Immediately, they hurried up to get him on life support to try to get him to regain and rebuild because he had matters of national duties the next day. I think the following day he was seen in Kenya. Museveni lays down on oxygen every night. He's boosted by vitamins and all kinds of things to give him energy for the next day. It used to be when Museveni had to make a public appearance, the night before he would be on IVs for vitamins or all kinds of juices to get him all pumped up, energy drinks, whatever. That's why when Museveni comes out, sometimes you see him racing to try to show that he can run or he can jump or whatever those things that he does to try to be fit as Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. He has done push-ups at State House. It doesn't mean Museveni is always as pumped up every day. Okay? He's pumped all night long to give him a booster to exist the next day. He doesn't wake up like that every day. But that time, when I posted that, it is true that because of that order, Museveni passed out. And you can see that yesterday, military and all uniformed personnel were ordered to leave Kyagulanyi's home. It was Museveni that was made arm-twisted to do that. He did not volunteer to do that. Okay? Next thing. Okay, so since Museveni ordered the armed forces away from Kyagulanyi Ssentamu's home, he's now trying to make a way to legitimately come back, send the military back into His Excellency's compound. As much as we are celebrating that they have left, he was arm-twisted to do it, and he's not happy about it, and now cooking up a way to get back. They want to now come back legally, okay? They're planning through Damulira and the ghetto structures that they have. They want to get about 60 ghetto youth, have them wear Noop t-shirts, and go to Kyagulanyi's home and raid it while chanting Kabanje or saying things like, you have now left the country, you know, you dragged us into this thing, you've gotten us in jail, you've gotten some of us killed, you've gotten us in a lot of trouble, and yet now you have run away. They're going to say things like that. This whole mission is organized by Damulira. Okay? And these ghetto youth will come and destroy everything. And while this is happening, they will record the whole event. As you know, Museveni is dying to make His Excellency look like a terrorist or a rebel group. In any way he can do it, to paint him blue, black, and everything else, he will try. So this is an attempt to draw the military back. And so when these guys go and do this and demolish the home or destroy the home and do all kinds of things there, Museveni will then send a set of military and police, a combination of, to go back into that home and say that we told you that we're just guarding his home. You remember during the parliamentary sitting where Namuga, one of the new members of parliament, questioned the military executives at parliament about why they are in Kyagulanyi's home. To answer those questions, because one of the gentlemen said they are there to protect the home. And so they explained, what do you mean protect the home? And yet, when you went there, that's when the destruction happened. And they couldn't answer the question. So because they looked really small, one of the things they're now going to do is to justify what that gentleman said. That they're occupying it to protect it. Okay? So they will reoccupy Kyagulanyi's home again, officially, this time seeming legally. They will not have Ugandan military or policemen. They'll have SFCs, as usually. You have seen a lot of SFCs being infiltrated into the military. And also, I understand that the SFCs have been there a long time ago, since the time they occupied that home, because many people have been to that home, and when they talk to these people, they don't even know how to respond, because they're not Ugandans and they don't speak the language. Okay? Museveni is also requesting the same militia that was there the last few, during the election period. I think some of them came from Central Africa, and some obviously from Rwanda, and maybe some from Tanzania. Those militia groups that were present to help Museveni defend his thievery of the election results on the 15th of January, he's requesting that they come back to help him for his next projects, which I'm going to get into the project right now. Okay? So I hope they don't, but they just may, because somehow Museveni has a way of convincing these people. If not, he has a hold of them, on them, because Central African Republic is also another area where Museveni runs a government, just like he does in Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, and Tanzania. All those 5 countries are under his leadership. Okay? I understand Museveni is very sick and has issues day and night. Doctors keep asking him why he is so stressed, because he doesn't sleep. His pressure's up and down. The doctors that live at State House almost have to reside there now. They usually came to work and went home. They're now living there officially. Meanwhile, they say State House looks like a mourning house every day. You know, when somebody dies in a home, there's a looming coldness or like a casting shadow over the home, where there's no joy, there's no happiness, there's just existence. And that's how State House is. It's cold, it's quiet, it's not a home anymore, because they're suspicious of anything that could happen. So the doctors keep asking him why, what is the problem with him? Why can't he just calm down? He suffers from low blood pressure. Anybody who knows or has an idea about blood pressure, low is just as bad as high, if not worse. And Museveni suffers from low blood pressure. So when I say that he has high low blood pressure, it means it steeps extremely low, that as he may not be receiving enough blood or oxygen to the places that need reliable source of blood, oxygen all the time. So low blood pressure means instead of going right where it needs to go, it goes tit, 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 not enough for sustenance of, for example, the brain. And that is why he's hooked onto machines almost every night. So the doctors are just flabbergasted. Like, why does this person always need medical care? So they asked Museveni, what is the problem? Museveni's biggest problem is that Kyagulanyi has been protected by Ugandans for over 2 months. And he can't believe that right under his nose, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was able to sustain life among local Ugandans protected by the military, protected by the police, successfully exited the country through whichever border or airplane, protected by public servants, which is something that Museveni used to have. You know, when Museveni came to Uganda when he took over power, what he told Ugandans was everything they wanted to hear, because they were tired of bad government. They were tired of bad elections being stolen. They were tired of all the atrocities going on. So Museveni came and told Ugandans everything they wanted to hear. And that's why the Baganda especially protected Museveni with all their might, because he said the right things. Now, Museveni felt like he had won Ugandans and that he wouldn't lose it. But he did, unfortunately. In losing that, Museveni cannot continue to thrive like he used to be. Remember, he had already planned that by now there would be no opposition in the country. He's surprised at where Kyagulanyi Ssentamu showed up from and has taken up all the space, and he cannot exist with him at all. Not his son, not his fake oppositions, not his fake apologists. None of them make sense. Museveni even designed an opposition for himself, for him to look legitimate. Kyagulanyi is loved in and outside of Uganda. Kyagulanyi is in corridors and places where Museveni used to be. Even when Museveni says things like, how did he get out of the country? How did he get there? How did he do this? You know, when Museveni came, before he came, he was in Sweden, he was in Tanzania, he was in Uganda, at his own wish. Nobody knew how he got here and there. So Museveni knows exactly the shoes in which Kyagulanyi Ssentamu walks in, and that's what causes him illness. Okay? So he's also upset and worried because Kyagulanyi is in places where he has no control. He's in a jurisdiction where he can't leak information. Information cannot be leaked. He cannot send his spy network or whatever. Nobody in the diaspora that he used to pour money into responds to his calls anymore about what's going on. People are deserting Museveni left and right. Even those who used to handle his affairs abroad don't answer his phone calls. If they do, they give him just nonsense, or they just have no information to share. Okay? Kyagulanyi has beat him hands down. And that's what's going to hopefully take this man, because at some point he's got to go. Museveni is also worried about who Kyagulanyi is meeting when he comes abroad. Obviously, he's meeting the movers and shakers of this world, like he did when he came to power. So is it happening with His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. So he knows exactly what that means. You saw a post that I shared about Museveni prohibiting large vehicles on the road, because Museveni apparently thinks that in those vehicles there may be people coming to take him, or try to change the government, force a change of government. Because what he thinks, and this could be a combination of old age and also just a Rwandese mentality of just not getting this generation altogether. Okay? He thinks that those big trucks could maybe be stopped in a traffic jam in the center of Kampala, because in actuality, a traffic jam in Kampala can end the government of Museveni. So, brothers and sisters, those of you who have those vehicles, most of you drive them for companies. One of these days, which the day is coming up, okay, those who have those vehicles know the date. It is coming. Park those things in the roads in Kampala and shut Kampala down. There'll be no way Museveni's government will last a few hours after that. It is something that he knows and he fears. We are beating Museveni at his own game that he knows how to play the best. So Museveni's fears are valid and real because they actually can happen. Yes, Jonah, Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is God sent. I believe that. I agree with you. So Museveni is worried about those huge vehicles. That's why he's banning them from the city, from the roads. He's also banning people from being in the center of Kampala, because he believes that if a coup starts and there's enough people on the road, he could be overpowered. A real coup, which will tell you when there's a real one, because Museveni is planning a fake one, which I'm also going to bring to you. He says that he sent a lot of money to these people abroad to try to get them to send him information. But everywhere he goes, nobody responds. Nobody answers the call. And that people of Uganda now hate him. He says anywhere he goes and looks out the window, some people will spit as if in disgust, which is true. Like I said, everything Museveni feels is valid and true. Ugandans hate him. Ugandans are tired of Museveni. We don't want to have him as president because he stole our election. Next, moving on to Muhoozi. I understand Muhoozi has or is suffering from depression. He has been hiding from his father, Museveni, and his uncle, Salim Saleh. Reason for hiding is because he does the stupidest things like post or make X posts that incriminate him and incriminate his father's criminal regime. So because they keep telling him to stop, he is not happy with that. And so he went into hiding because as a CDF, he has his own security detail that go to certain places with him or protect him. So he has been in hiding from his father because he feels stressed, and he also hates the fact that Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is trending more than he is trending. Because the way Muhoozi thinks about existence, you know, as a spoon-fed, spoiled brat and drunkard, he is supposed to be in competition with Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, but him on the south side. You know what I mean? When I mean on the south, him in the gutters, while Kyagulanyi is flying high. Because Muhoozi, in his common sense, expects to continue tweeting those things that incriminate his father and himself. Just in an effort, in his mind, he thinks he's matching up with what Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is doing. So because he was banned from tweeting on his X account, in fact, I heard they took the phone away, he's upset about that because he would rather compete with Kyagulanyi, as if Kyagulanyi flying in an airplane and him traveling in plumbing system underground, because of the way he thinks, the way he performs, what he's doing. He doesn't get it. So to stop him from trenching himself further, they stopped him from tweeting, and that upset him. So Museveni has been planning to clean up the tweeting situation. I put on my page maybe yesterday or the day before that Museveni plans to distance Muhoozi from his tweets. And so they have plans underway to actually have a different person use that tweet somehow, and then they would sort of, you know, try to investigate to find who is using it, and then incriminate somebody, and then put all the blame on that person, and maybe arrest them, put them in jail, just so they move Muhoozi away from tying him to those tweets. But as stupid as that can be, in the process of his father planning doing that, Muhoozi goes ahead and tweets. Somebody gave him the phone. Maybe he arm twisted one of his guards. They give him the phone. He goes on tweets, on X, and tweets something. And then his father is told about it. And his father curses him out, okay? Museveni is extremely upset with Muhoozi. And he curses him. And he cries very bitterly and says, "My son is such a betrayal. Such a betrayal," is what Museveni says. I could find it. Let me see if I can find the actual quote or the words from Museveni's mouth. So anyways, in the meantime, he's completely disappointed in Muhoozi, which I don't know why Museveni expects anything else. You know, if I had a son like that, I would expect that he would do something like this. So when I get to it, I can read it. Let me see. Maybe I can get to that. Anyway, I'll find it later. So Museveni curses at him, you know, calling him this stupid son. You know, he's such a betrayal. And he goes to send people to go and bring him. Muhoozi tries to resist. But Museveni sends a security detail to go and bring him by force. He took away Muhoozi's phone and they tried to change some details from the account. So maybe it'll take him time to get plugged back into his X account, or he may not use that X account that, later on, which will still mean, which we know, that Muhoozi is the one who made those tweets. The whole world knows that. And the other thing that they don't understand is that X is not for their father. These accounts are set up. They're set up here in the United States. Okay, there are facts that are put in when you're creating these accounts. There are things that the FBI or any other intelligence agency can pull that Museveni and his family cannot distance themselves from Muhoozi. Whatever that is will pin to the detail of Muhoozi. So all that Balamu is trying to play and take responsibility for Muhoozi's account is not going to help them. Because when you set up an account, there are certain details that are definitely captured: IP address, location, and all these things. And they'll know that all those locations are only privy to the Muhoozi people. As much as they feel like they can fool Ugandans, they can't fool the whole world. These accounts are tailored. They're tracked. They can track to the T the location of Muhoozi when he tweeted that. If they're going to pin some local ghetto guy in Kampala over there, that ghetto guy has never been to State House. That ghetto guy has never been to Muhoozi's residence. How are they going to tie those two? Balaam, who came out and said Muhoozi's account is his, does not live at Muhoozi's residence. When Muhoozi tweets, what if he tweets from the toilet? If they can track that, that's not Balaam. Unless Balaam lives Muhoozi's life. So whatever they're trying to do will not catch, will not stick. Okay. So they took down the handle. They're trying to change the account. So they're trying to get somebody to take responsibility. Balaam came out, obviously, when he came out and said that, he didn't know or preempt that Muhoozi will come out and tweet. So Museveni threatened to demote Muhoozi from being CDF, but Museveni struggles with a legitimate or a trustworthy person. It has been very difficult for him to trust anybody who is Ugandan. All of those Security Council members, he can't trust. All those who are indigenous Ugandans, he cannot trust anymore. Even those who work for the SFCs, there are a few that he cannot trust because he wonders how this information leaks to us every day. So what Museveni resorted to do is to call Kagame and ask Kagame for a family member of theirs, somebody from their family, that they can have come to Uganda, a young man, come to Uganda, be trained, shown in the media here and there, have him perform some things publicly, because Muhoozi had talked about doing something about the roads and all that. Have that person come and perform these activities publicly so that Ugandans will see who he is and try to get into their hearts, and then eventually name that person a CDF. So that is where Museveni plans to have a CDF come out of, and Kagame has agreed to doing that. Okay, so when you see Muhoozi step down, it is because of his behavior that just keeps happening, and as a CDF, he continues to make these vital mistakes. The media center, all of you have seen Alan Kasuja, the giant that's come back to Uganda to become the new executive director for all medias. Well, they have a huge plan behind that. Kasuja replaces Obed Katurebe, who had replaced Ofono Opondo. The reason why Katurebe is replaced is because he's a toothless dog, according to what they say. He's not protecting the criminal regime. He's not defending them as much as possible. And so they decided to get this man who speaks English very well, and this man who is always in, the BBCs and all those places on the world stage of publicity. So Alan Kasuja comes heavily armed, okay? He comes with obviously highly recommended by the Rwandese. He's a Rwandese himself. You can tell his resemblance with the Rwandese guys in Uganda. So his purpose is to decentralize the media. That means just like you have RDCs for every region of Uganda, and none of them speaks a language of that region. It is why in Acholi, in my village, I have an RDC who speaks Kinyarwanda or Runyankole, fairly learned, and manages affairs of the local people as an RDC. The reason of doing that is to have somebody that Museveni controls, somebody who does Museveni's work and not the people's job. They are not there for our purpose. They are there to report to Museveni and perform the criminal regime's needs. So Alan coming to the media center, the purpose of him coming is to control the media, control information, only allow useless information to come out, filter information, control social media, and the ultimate is to destroy any media that publicizes anything about His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu or NUP. The most important reason Alan is here is to make sure that news about Bobi Wine does not come to the public eye. And news about NUP does not exist. And all bloggers or YouTubers or any of those change-making or change-wanting individuals do not have access or do not publish their information. What does that mean for a Ugandan? Any one of you who has a smartphone, you are a journalist now, officially. If you can't speak about it, share it with us. If you can, please do safely. But the purpose of this guy coming is so that all of that does not exist in Uganda anymore. What are the things they're trying to do? All media licenses are going to be recalled. All this NTV, UCB, New Vision, all media, TV and radio licenses are going to be recalled. Okay? And when they do, they're going to plant an individual like an RDC in every region of Uganda or every district of Uganda where there is a media outlet, to have them assigned to a particular location. With that assignment, that person is in charge of filtering information that will get publicized on radio or TV. Okay? That person will be in charge of all of that information and make sure that the right information, which means information, nothing against the government, nothing about His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, nothing about change, nothing about NUP, will be publicized. If they do, they'll be suspended or their licenses will get cancelled. They'll only share information pleasing the government. No comments or critics allowed on air. Some TVs will lose news broadcasters because they won't need as many if they're only going to be putting out garbage. They'll need one or two people to just, waste time on air. Tame social media is what they want to do. They want to control social groups such as KDF. They want to control mainstream media. News medias have been given $1 billion. $1 billion shillings was given to Alan Kasujja to implement all of these policies. These government policies to fail Ugandans. This is exactly how North Korea is run. North Korea has just a few outlet medias, and the news comes from Kim Jong-un. That's what Museveni wants Uganda. He's now doing it because he doesn't have a way of softening the blow. He's doing it in broad daylight, and it's going to happen. Stage 1, Alan is here. Next, you're going to hear about licenses. In fact, yesterday I saw something online that said that all media licenses are going to be recalled. That is one of the stages in this. They would like to open up more religious slots in the media. So in the afternoon, in the morning, in the evening, all day long, you will hear preaching or praising or whatever. Or I don't want to butcher it. I don't know how the Islam prayer time is called. All that is going to be filled in the day, and then the rest will be bogus stories like, oh, somebody's husband did this, somebody's wife did that, somebody this, just nonsensical, non-building information that will be broadcasted. Just be prepared for that. They also want to press legitimate radio owners are going to be pushed to the wall and have to sell their media, because Ugandans are going to detest this new form of the media, and therefore will push the owners to actually sell their radio stations or social media or TV or whatever. Museveni already has mafias who are ready to buy them very cheaply. It is the reason why NTV was sold, because Museveni could not push this nonsense with the owner, what is his name? Aga Khan, I believe so. He could not push this with the original owner of NTV. That's why that gentleman from Tanzania has been fronted as the buyer of NTV, because it is somebody who is in their camp and they can use and can manipulate and pass all of these stipulations that Museveni has in place in his government. So the purpose for Alan coming is all of those, in generally to suppress the media, social media. I talked about Noob, NTV. Museveni says that Katurebe was incompetent and could not defend Museveni from KDF or cover up on the government faults. Alan will defend the criminal regime. In fact, one of the other reasons that he came was that there's an international forum wanting to speak with the leader of the executive director of media in Uganda, in efforts to try to conjure a good system or a presentable team to go and speak before these people. Alan Kasuja had to get dropped in that space and Katurebe sent away so that he can fill in the gap. Like I said, Alan Kasuja has been working for the BBC for quite a long time. He knows how the West works. He knows how they question. He knows how they target. He knows what to say and what not to say. You know, so he seems like the right guy for them. And plus, he's in their camp. He's one of theirs. Okay? So here is the big news coming up. Brace yourselves. Like I said, when we say these, it doesn't mean that he's going to do it. We hope that he doesn't, but Museveni has already signed off on this activity that I'm going to talk to you about. Samuel Olara, good to see you. For a matter. This is the next big thing that I wanted. I had to come today, by all means, because this is important. Okay? Let me make sure. Okay. So, what is the big idea? This is from Museveni's heart. This is the last resort that Museveni has to exist in the presidency of Uganda. Everything else he has tried has failed. This is the last opportunity he has to stick to power. And he actually has arrangements for if this goes through or if it fails, what next? So listen, please. It's going to break somebody's heart, but I would hope that it doesn't, because it doesn't break mine. Because at least we'll know what we're doing or what he's doing so we can defend ourselves better. Okay? Here's a very, very deep secret in Museveni's heart. Museveni plans a coup d'etat in Uganda. I shared this earlier with somebody who said, so he's going to make a coup d'etat on himself? Yes. Yes. Museveni plans a coup d'etat in Uganda, and it will start at 4 a.m. or between 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. any one of these days. Here's how it's supposed to play out. Museveni is afraid of taking the oath as a president, to say, I solemnly swear to be the president of Uganda, blah, 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 over the Bible. They have to do that. That's the biggest event that happens at Kololo after elections. Museveni is afraid to do that and feels like he's not ready to do that. You know, even in the Bible days, there is a gift that God gives to leaders. It is a gift that could be a blessing or could be a curse. Okay? Museveni has been having consistent dreams that he cannot interpret. Consistent dreams that are not good when he tries to interpret them. However he tries to interpret them, they look bad for him. He cannot share these dreams because he has no one to share failure with. Okay? Even to the people who work around Museveni, they say that he will never show a weakness. Never. Except to the doctors, because it's collapsing. So anyway, he plans a coup d'etat. Like in the Bible, they say, 2 pharaohs and more lost their kingdom or kingship because they had a bad dream about their fall, the downfall of so and so. The pharaoh did. The kingdom of Babylon did that. The king had a dream that he could not interpret, but it was a bad dream. Museveni has bad dreams every day. His bad dreams entail or circle around his swearing in ceremony. That at the time of the swearing in, he will get abducted or he'll get assassinated. And he fears for both. And so he's very, very scared of swearing in, despite the fact that he really, really wants the presidency. In his thoughts, capturing Kyagulanyi Ssentamu would have solved it, because then he'd have no reason to fear for his life during the swearing in ceremony. But in his dreams, he sees a bad event at the swearing in ceremony. He also feels scared because Ugandans have not accepted him as the president, because they haven't accepted the election results, because they know the truth, and Museveni knows Ugandans know the truth. Plus, the Western world has not accepted and recognized him as the president. So those 2 or few things make him really, really afraid. He also sees the people that he has killed or hurt that are no longer with us, visiting him in his dreams. So he's battling quite a few things, which make him really scared of swearing in on the day of. So his plan is to set up a coup d'etat. This is how it's supposed to go. This is according to Museveni. Doesn't mean it's going to be this way. So the coup d'etat is in gear. That means he has signed it into action. He has said go to his people. Okay? So anytime before the swearing in, he's going to do that. One of the things or the stages of preparation are, he doesn't want any vehicles on the roads, because he thinks that they have people that will try to take him. He doesn't want people on the streets, markets, and city areas. That's why you've seen SFCs, people in non-military uniform, kicking people off the streets. Those are his SFCs from Rwanda coming to do the dirty work. They're sending people away from the cities and streets because he wants them clear for him to make his operation. Museveni is afraid of a jam in the city of Kampala because he knows that'll be the end of his governance. So that's why he's trying to make sure there's nothing in city, or no people or crowds in city, because he wants to move on with his plan of a coup d'etat. So Ugandans, on that day, if you have that vehicle that you can just we'll pay you somehow. You'll be remembered. You'll be honored. You'll be respected for what you did for your country. There's 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute, that time that is coming, that we will need all of your large vehicles, whether you drive for a company or drive for yourself. Just go ahead, park it, take the key, and walk on. And the rest will happen from there. Some of you know the date, and some of you will come to your inboxes. So if you do have one, please reach out. Okay? So in the coup d'etat, they want to make the coup d'etat look extremely credible. The reason for this coup d'etat is to get His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. In fact, they want to kill him in a scuffle during this coup d'etat. They want to assassinate him during the celebrations when somebody seems to have captured or taken over the government, kind of like Traoré. The way it happened, he was the guy for the coup. He led it and became president. This one, they're still looking for the person, but they want the person to come and be in place, come and say they are doing it for His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, so they can lure him to come back from the West, where he is in Washington. Bring him back, assuming that he's coming to take over the government, as he should, but it will be planned and reversed. So the assassination he wants to make look very, very credible. Okay, such that it's not foul play. There's no suspicion of somebody doing it, because Museveni, Janet, Muhoozi, their children, Salim Saleh will all be in handcuffs in different rooms at State House, looking all shaky and quirky. So people think, oh my God, it's real. It's not going to be real. So once they start the coup, They want Ugandans to embrace it like it is the real thing. All mainstream media, which is the reason why Alan Kasuja is now in place. This is how they're trying to set them like Legos, like bricks. When you're bricklaying, you organize, next level, or zigzag or whatever. Things are falling into plan, and all these, that's why they've rejected the vehicles in the streets. That's why they're kicking people out of Kampala. That's why Alan Kasuja is now in town. That's why the licenses are now recalled. They're trying to zone into this activity. This is their last resort, which is supposed to happen before his supposed swearing in. So they want Ugandans to embrace it without any concerns. All mainstream media, as I said, will be focused on the event. That is the reason why SFCs are now in military barracks. If you have relatives in the military or police, they'll tell you that SFCs are being dropped in different barracks every day, stating that the barracks of origin where they were are under construction or some kind of work, but they're bringing them directly from Rwanda. And also the M23 rebels from Congo that were kicked out of Congo are now being sipped into the Ugandan military every single day. Okay. All M23s who were on the Lake Victoria, trying to deter Ugandans from fishing on the lake, are now being moved into the UPDF. They're getting, absorbed into the UPDF. They had run into Uganda and were added to police and UPDF. So, let me go next here. During the coup, they will front Kyagulanyi Ssentamu as the president. So whoever will be chosen to be the leader of that coup will say, I'm here for Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. I'm, people power, our power, and all of that. In the meantime, the plan, they're hoping that Ugandans will say, oh, this is, in Acholi they say, Opotu wa Matugu, which means, it's fallen right in our laps. This is what we have always wanted. Change has come to Uganda. And when Ugandans embrace this, the news will go all over the social media. That's why all media will be discussing, saying, oh my God, there's, Uganda is changing. The new government is ushered in. Kyagulanyi Ssentamu just got returned. Because they've barred private vehicles from the streets, Ugandans will be on those tankers, all those military vehicles, celebrating, screaming their voices to the top and all that. But during that scuffle, that time of celebration and all of that, is the point at which Museveni advises they shoot Kyagulanyi one shot in the head, and he will never wake up. One shot to kill him and put him out of this world. After all the celebrations going on. In that moment of celebration, joy and sadness from the loss of our president, Museveni then will somehow break his shackles and come in and say, well, Kyagulanyi Ssentamu came and he lost the coup immediately, and so we took it over, which happens in some coups. Some coups never make it, they never succeed. So that is the plan for Museveni, to try to make this a quick in and out and take back power, but without Kyagulanyi in the picture. So while breaking news goes out saying, oh my goodness, Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, just like we thought, is now president of Uganda, just like we hoped, with all the joy and all of that, it'll be all over the news, and then the next news will change. It'll go, whoo, Kyagulanyi Ssentamu just lost his seat as the president. He just lost his life. And then Museveni takes over and arrest all the people that are around there that are trying to celebrate all of this win, because all they wanted was Kyagulanyi Ssentamu in a disguise of a coup. Museveni family will be released and they will continue life as they did. The problems they have, however, that they've discussed is that they don't have a credible coup leader, because as I said, he doesn't trust anyone. He doesn't trust, especially the military. So he must find somebody who will not, after taking over in a coup, will not stick to power and say, well, I won it, we're done, and kill them too. He also doesn't want somebody who will kill them. And he doesn't have somebody who Ugandans believe in enough for them to come out and say, imagine Kaihura pulls this thing off. We can't trust him. Imagine Rushoke tries to pull this. We can't trust him. Imagine who? All of them we don't trust. Plus, he can't use a Ugandan. For sure not. He's not going to use a Ugandan. So he's going to try to use somebody who is credible to Ugandans and who will be on their side when things change to be able to give it back to him. So that is their struggle in the meantime. So they're hoping that Ugandans embrace this thing and run with it and not worry about losing Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, and hope that when a win for Uganda is a win for all, even if they lose the president. But they're also thinking about what if this turns out into a real street fight? What if Ugandans wake up this very moment and say, we're done with those people, and don't give them a chance to be able to evacuate and all of that? What if Ugandans refuse to leave the streets? Here's their plan. Their plan is to abduct the Kabaka of Buganda, the King of Busoga, and the Rot of Acholi, Rot David Onen Achana. Those are going to be used as bargaining chips. Okay? These are the people that they're going to use to tease in a conversation to say, Kabaka of Buganda, tell your people to go home. Tell the Baganda to stop unless they want us to kill you too. Then they'll go back to the Ugandans and say, do you want us to kill the Kabaka too? And Ugandans will be like, you know what? We've already lost Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. We don't want to lose somebody else. Possible that will be their scenario. Remember, it's going to start at 4 a.m. No cars on the road. Okay? Every single day I hear there are people on main roads who monitor traffic. How traffic comes in, goes out. How many people? What are the people saying? They talk to you. They come and say, hey, who is so-and-so? What are they doing here? Boda stops, taxi stops, people just walking around. These are all Rwandi's spies all over Uganda right now. They're in the streets from border to border, monitoring traffic. How many vehicles come? What types of vehicles? How many of them are owned by Ugandans? Who really owns these? How many people are going through this and that? All of that is being planned, especially in regions of Buganda, Busoga, and Acholi. They're not so worried about the western region because Rwanda, they feel like they have good control on that side because they have people placed or sort of semi-permanent or permanent in those areas that they can contact in case things start to go south. Okay? So the fear of trucks is a big one and continues. There, as I mentioned, the focus is Buganda, Bugisu, and Acholi. They will allow people to celebrate, but not with their vehicles, because he still fears for a traffic jam in the city that will finish his presidency. Okay? So if this doesn't go as planned, Kyagulanyi survives, people don't accept it, even if they assassinate him, this is what they feel like they can do next. They want to, like I said, abduct those two kings and try to bait with them so that Ugandans can negotiate and not worry about doing that. Here's what I would like for you to do. Try to seek proof on what I'm saying. Okay? There are money lenders in several parts of Uganda, in general, everywhere. If you know one, reach out to them and see if they will give you a loan or give you any money. They're not giving that because they know what the plan is. They know about the coup d'etat. Remember, all money lenders, or most of them, are Rwandese, funded by State House. To try to get, when they give you a loan, they'll take your ID, They take your NIN number and collateral in form of land or any assets that you might have. They pray and hope that you're not able to pay up, and so they take your land or take your whatever assets you give them. In the event that this happens, they know how many people live in this village, how many people do this or that, which areas who comes from, and what they do. Money lenders have confirmed to Museveni that they can destroy Uganda in a second, meaning chopping Ugandans like pigs and chickens. In a few minutes, they can kill all Ugandans above 17 because they believe the younger ones will grow up with the new doctrine of what they have, what they'll be taught by the Museveni people. Okay? So money lenders are not giving money anymore. They're actually waiting to collect their money if they can. So money lenders in every region are set as spies in villages to know what you're doing or who's doing what, so that when the time comes that the order comes from State House to go and slaughter, they will do. This drives me to the second point, where they said if Ugandans do not embrace the coup d'etat and try to act out and stay on the streets, they're going to slaughter Ugandans worse than the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. Worse. They are going to slaughter Acholi, which they've already been through some, Busoga, Buganda. They definitely want Buganda because Buganda raised Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. They are going, if this doesn't get embraced, which it will not, and we hope it will not even happen, they are going to slaughter Ugandans like pigs. The money lenders have confirmed to Museveni that they will. The M23 people are all over Uganda at this point. M23 is in UPDF and police. SFC is in UPDF and police. SFC is in the fisheries. There's a post that showed people, cadets or military cadets who are in training in local communities. Those are all M23s who just returned from Congo because they were kicked out of there. They said they can change the government, they can clear Ugandans in a matter of minutes. They will kill anything above 18 years old. They will only leave anything 17 or less. That is if the coup is not embraced. Okay? The war is mainly in Buganda, Busoga, and Acholi. There's going to be a coup and a war mixed in together. They'll use those cadets and the M23s that are being trained in villages. They want to destroy Buganda. Make sure, I don't want to use the line of Anite, but they want to make sure Buganda does not have any adult over 18 alive. Money lenders have guaranteed this to Museveni. Eventually, when all of this war is happening, they're slaughtering people left and right, Museveni will then break his shackles and come out as if to rescue Ugandans. And this starts all over again. As you know, this is how a lot of people died in Luero, because Museveni sent his rebel people to kill people in the night, and then he showed up in broad daylight to console and condole with them. The same thing he did in Acholi. Acholi people who will tell you that they lived through the LRA wars, they will tell you that the people who came and killed us were wearing UPDF badges, and they spoke Luganda. Museveni purposely sent Baganda to Acholi so that Acholi will hate Baganda for good. And some people still hold that sentiment for lack of better knowledge about it. So he intentionally is going to do this so that he comes back as a savior, and then we'll start reading about another record number of Baganda who died in a failed coup in so years to come. That is Museveni's heart. When I say Museveni does not wish Ugandans anything good, please believe me. He doesn't. He calls us Abiru. Mwiru or Abiru. You will also notice there's new money lenders in certain areas. Those are all spies, M23s and SFCs living locally. Just like he sends RDCs or people to represent different districts from different districts. You know, you find like a police officer, superintendent of a certain police station does not speak the language of the people in that area, never grew up there. You would think if somebody cared for these people, they would send one of their brothers, somebody who grew up around there, because they would know how to deal with their own people and solve their own problems. But that's not how he operates. All Museveni cares for is information and how to destroy you, Ugandans. So when you notice new faces, people on the streets just driving and parking and looking around, they're seeking information to feed Museveni. When you notice people just wandering from nowhere, new people, new faces, not speaking the language, like the militia that is requesting to come back, that slaughtered people during the January 15 elections, you know, all of that, you just know that it is the people of Museveni. Those informants, they are not of your interest, not at all. The last resort of Museveni is the coup d'etat. Last resort. Museveni has no more moves on the board. Nothing. Kyagulanyi has won him by thousands and millions of miles ahead. He can't catch up. Rwanda is crying. Rwanda blames Ugandans for failing their country and tarnishing their name abroad. But because Rwanda is directly linked to Museveni, in fact, Kagame is Museveni's protege. It's easy to break either one of them because they do the same things. And Museveni knows the reason why they're hitting Kagame very hard is because they're looking for him. They do all these dirty deeds together. They plan together. They act together. Imagine that incident today of Mrs. Tshisekedi. Why would Kagame still attempt something like that when he's in this much chaos, especially with the US? But that's how they think. They think every problem has to be solved by the barrel of a gun. But this time, it's not going to work. So Rwanda believes that they have lost in Congo, they've lost in Sudan, and they must hold on to Uganda. That is why they make plans like these. They want to hold on to Uganda to be used as a crutch for them to bounce back. But that's not happening. So remember, when there is a real coup, we will let you know. When we have a real coup of change in Uganda, you will know. When you see Museveni's coup, which he has already signed off into action, do not embrace it. Stay home. Do not get involved because you lose your life. Museveni wants to kill Kyagulanyi Ssentamu by all means. It is why he funds ESO a lot of money for them to try to kill him from abroad. In fact, Muhoozi swears by the fact that Kyagulanyi will never return to Uganda alive. So share this, because there is no peaceful return of His Excellency when those people are still behaving this way. None. Sudan, moving on to Sudan, it is filled with poison. I understand government officials are dying, dropping all day, every day. From nowhere, 12 hours later, they're gone. Every organ failed. A lot of the poison they call the Nam Angel is getting pumped into Sudan. Museveni no longer wants to shoot people. He just figures out a way to get your breath out of you by way of ingestion, poison, food, drinking, all types of things like that. So I know it's heartbreaking, but the reason we share this information is to make you stronger, for you to expect the worst so that you prepare and hope for ease. Hopefully it's not going to be that bad, but at least we know and we can arm ourselves. I don't mean physically with bullets and things, but in your mind. When you have a strong mind, it trumps all else. If you're strong in your mind, you can achieve whatever it is you have in there. I believe that. I've done that. Okay? Don't feel sad. I want to tell you that we have never been this close to change. Never. Never. Everything Museveni does is the kicks of a dying horse. So stay with me, because we're going to get Uganda changed this time, by all means. By all means. It's happening. This is where Museveni was when he started. Okay? I love you and leave you. Take good care. Share information. We're here for you. I love you.